When you think of Hawaii, I'd imagine that you would envision the following: beautiful beaches, happy people, good food, amazing scenery, a green and healthy environment, cultural well-being, and an overall positive environment and people. Now, one can say those are all true, and in an outside perspective, visually they may say so. However, in reality, within those aspects of Hawaii, there's a deeper story that involves the deterioration of the environment and inherently the cultural endangerment that is still continuing today. When we think of environmentalism, we often think of green-collar jobs, predominantly focusing on scientific, economics, political, and even ethical fields. However, within ethics, there is a common occurrence to overlook indigenous perspectives and knowledge. One may say that that may be a social issue and not an environmental or sustainable issue, but that idea fails to take into account that through indigenous knowledge, we can find even more information and more understanding of lands through which we can learn from to further develop practices and implementations of sustainability, while bettering our understanding of the environment itself. The land is chief, man is its servant. Land has no need for man, but man needs the land and works for its livelihood. It is important to note the concept of environment and the perception of land in the perspective of Native Hawaiians. The land itself is a relative, an ancestor, and provider to the Hawaiian people. Aina is the Hawaiian term for land, but includes a more deeper and complex meaning. It is that which feeds or is the feeder, the land that feeds the physical, mental, and spiritual components of life. Hawaiians, like other indigenous cultures, have an internal duty and belief to practice the concept of malama aina, which means to care or tend to the land. However, that is not so simple as to say just simply take care of the environment. This has a more deeper belief and concept of the interconnection between culture and environment that modern society and government has lost and devalued. There is an environmental kinship with the aina. Hawaiians see the land as a relative and ancestor, thus taking a perspective to further develop relations and take care of the land even more. In comparison to today, capitalism, colonialism, expansionism, imperialism have all tended to see the land as a means of resource and exploitation. We have lost that spiritual, cultural, or any emotional ties to the land and the environment, which keeps us in tune with being coexisting with our ecosystems and maintaining a sense of sustainability. This has caused the downward trend of our well-being and the healthiness of our planet and its ecosystems. We are seeing pollution, climate change, forest fires, and more as a result of losing that spiritual and moral ethical tie to the environment. Taking this into account, Hawaii and the Kanaka Maoli Native Hawaiians have had an extensive history of oppression, displacement, and endangerment at the hands of colonialism that have robbed them of their lands, which has inherently threatened the foundational element in their culture and spirituality. Many of these injustices, oppression, wrongdoings, and exploitations are still felt today, making it nearly a 300-year process to remove Hawaiians from their lands and replace their perspectives, their values, and their ideals with the ways of Western capitalism, corporatism, and other colonial ideals.
Aloha, my name is Dean Wilhelm, and I'm one of the co-executive directors of the nonprofit organization Koʻokoʻo Aina. Yep. Well, I think it's easy to see that sustainability is immersed just with the way that they stewarded the lands. And so they came here and found this amazingly abundant place, yeah, rich in resources. And because of the background that they came from, I think there was this mindset that we really need to steward these lands so that we don't end up like maybe where we came from. To me, I think actually what happens in that process is we really become stewarded and we become restored as we do that to the land. So the land actually gives us far more than we give the land. Yeah, so there's much more that comes from engaging in a relationship with Aina, which is what I really believe Malama Aina starts with. It's developing pilina with place. Yeah. You could see it through the lo'ikalo systems, through the fish ponds. All those things are demonstrations of the value of sustaining and really Malama Aina, caring for the lands, not just for today, but for generations to come. Yeah. When it comes to Malama Aina, Hawaiians were very astute. Yeah, very practical. You're not going to steward the whole place. You're not going to, there are areas where you didn't even go in many ways. The Vau'akua, that was kind of like, you could maybe go and visit, but that wasn't where you hung out. And so you didn't spend time caring for those areas. You spent time stewarding areas specifically that you knew or had the confidence and faith were going to steward and steward you. So you spent time in, it's my understanding that, for instance, when it comes to agriculture, Hawaiians only farm like 4% of the Aina. And 4% of the lands. And all of those, and it fed all the people who were here. So just a small fraction of all the Aina here was stewarded and used to feed themselves. So they were very, very astute as to where those regions were. And they poured all their energy into those areas. So that's, to me, that's the mindset of Malama Aina, is really stewarding lands, exerting yourself, being purposeful in caring for those lands with the faith and confidence that those lands will in turn steward you and your family. Yeah.
Aloha nui. My name is Makahiapo Catchman. I'm the director here at Kapapalo'io Kaneohe at UH Manoa. I think Malama Aina, just translating, it means to take care of the land. But to me, in this sense, Aina is everything that feeds you. Like traditionally, even today, sometimes people will greet you and say, "Hey, peata Aina, how's your place? How's your Aina?" But it's a even more elaborate question where they're actually asking you, "How's everything? How's the sun? How's the moon? How's the ocean? How's your streams? How's your family? How's your garden? How's your crops? How's everything doing? So and to Hawaiians, that's what Aina is. Aina is those things that feed you. So in order when our taro grows, in order for it to work or grow, all these things need to be in line. The sun needs to come up every day and set. Same with the moon, it needs to go through its phases. The constellations need to go through its phases. And just like things with the land, the tides and all those things too need to operate at its fullest potential in order for us to be at our healthiest as well.
My name is Kavika Riley, Kawika. Riley is spelled Riley. I'm the senior director for external affairs at Kupu. So as a Native Hawaiian myself, and as somebody who spent most of his career before Kupu working for Native Hawaiian serving institutions, most recently the Liliuokalani Trust, the integration of Ike Hawaii is one of the things that I love about Kupu. Caring for the environment isn't a job; it's a responsibility, and it's something you do. It's part of who you are. And many of our kama'aina grow up learning to fish, learning to hunt, loving to hike, loving to surf, all of these things where there's this natural appreciation and knowledge about the aina, about the environment around us. How can, Ike Hawaii, how can, different ways, OEV ways of being and doing, how can that be a framework or a model for sustainability and land management?
I know for Packfly, for instance, which is our first site, we brought in a number of different people to survey the site for cultural heritage sites, There's a couple of trails, so access points all the way up through the Ahapuahas. So we've maintained those and dedicated those pathways for just public use, and also had the site blessed. There's a lot of like sacred sites throughout the islands, and so properly going through that process with the indigenous peoples and leaders was really important to the entire team at Terraformation. We try to do that throughout all of the sites, and now we have somebody whose entire job is to understand the cultural heritage of these sites and give tours and explain like how important they are and the history of the areas, and expand that reach and that story to more and more people.
As I reflect through this documentative process and journey of broadening my personal perspective while also appreciating the environment has opened my eyes to the true extensive value of sustainability. As a sustainability major with a concentration on justice and ethics, the information discovered through these interviews shows that the aspect of sustainability can be expanded to that can be progressed through indigenous knowledge as seen with Native Hawaiians. As the first people to understand, develop, and sustain their lands, they are still overlooked in political and economical decision-making from the government. We need to and must learn from them, but also provide platforms that gives them their voices in their lands. Their knowledge can be progressed as global models to sustainability in all environmental factors. How can we do this? Through awareness, education, political action, indigenous representation. All these factors that an individual can do, but organizations and governments alike. We see this through Kupu Hawaii, we see it through Kapapalo'io Kanawai, we see this through Ho'okua Aina, and we also see it through Terraformation. Businesses, educational groups, nonprofits, political organizations, all these platforms can be utilized to give Hawaiians and indigenous people alike their platform to give their perspectives out to the world as models of sustainability. Environmentalism and sustainability cannot be only focused solely on politics and economy. It must also focus on ethics, including the hearing, understanding, and implementing indigenous practices and perspectives.